Marvel, Ant-Man. The Amazing Adventures of Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a different kind of superhero. With his super top secret state-of-the-art shrink suit, he can change to the size of an insect with the press of a button. He is fast, agile, super strong, and he has armies of ants at his back and core. It all started when Scott Lang found the suit. He was expecting to find money, so he was pretty disappointed to find some strange outfit. It looked like a cross between an old motorcycle jacket and a science experiment. It was just so weird. Scott had to try the suit on and see what it looked like. Besides, he knew his daughter, Cassie, would laugh when he told her about it. He and Cassie used to talk all the time about how cool it would be to be a superhero with a special costume like Captain America or Iron Man. To Scott's surprise, the suit fit him perfectly. Scott noticed some buttons on the sleeves and couldn't resist pressing one. Before he knew it, he was the size of a bug. Everything looked totally different to Scott, like he was on another planet. Pieces of fingernails now seemed like giant dinosaur spines. Random hairs looked like enormous strands of rope. Seconds after Scott shrank, his roommate decided it was time to shower. He didn't notice the tiny Scott at the bottom of the tub and turned on the faucet. Scott was trapped. If he didn't do something fast, he would be swirling down the drain. Luckily, with one small leap, Scott cleared the tidal wave of bath water. He flew out of the tub and past his roommate. When he hit the ground, he couldn't control himself and rolled through a crack. He dropped through the floorboards and careened into the neighboring apartment. Scott was sure that at his current size of the fall from the ceiling to the floor was going to break every bone in his body. But he was perfectly fine. The suit seemed to have protected him. He was pretty sure the suit wouldn't protect him from becoming dog food, though. So when he heard a terrifyingly loud bellow, he knew he wasn't in the clear just yet. The neighbor's yappy little puppy was a whole lot different now that Scott's was the size of an ant. Scott jumped to and from pieces of furniture, trying to shake the barking dog from his trail. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't lose him. He had to make a break for it. Scott dove toward the crack under the door, hoping to find safety. But he had no such luck. A woman was vacuuming the area right where he stood. He tried to outrun the machine, but he knew the odds were in favor of him becoming a dust bunny. Sure enough, the mechanical beast sucked him up and whipped him around with dirt and debris in what seemed like tornado-like winds. It was all a blur, but Scott got through it a-okay. The helmet could sure take a beating. He thought he would be stuck in the vacuum forever, but luckily, the woman emptied the dust bag and Scott escaped. Back at his place, Scott figured out how to activate the suit's reverse trigger and returned to his normal size. It was only then that he finally had a chance to process everything that had just happened to him. Instead of being scared, he was excited. He had just gotten a superpower. This was going to be fun. Scott had lots of ideas about what he could do with his new abilities. But he needed to prioritize. The most important thing was to get the money he was looking for when he found the suit. It's amazing what you can do when you are the size of an insect and have a degree in electrical engineering. Scott had a lot of fun wearing the suit to help those in need, but when the novelty wore off, he realized how much he was missing Cassie. He still wasn't able to see his daughter as much as he wanted. That's when Scott started to use the suit to watch over her. He didn't like what he saw. Cassie was being bullied at school. Ant-Man needed to stop it. Scott was so happy he could protect his little girl. He also felt pretty great standing up to the bully. Scott hoped the boy had learned his lesson. Not long after, Scott was watching Cassie when she said she heard some adults call her dad a bad man. Scott's heart dropped. He had made some mistakes in the past, but he had changed. He wished Cassie could see the good he was doing. Then, from out of nowhere, Scott heard a voice as if it were in his own head. "What do you think? Are you a bad man?" Scott was freaked out. He didn't know whose voice he had heard, and he certainly didn't know what to do. What was the point of being a superhero if Cassie didn't know her father was a good man? He thought he should get rid of the suit and everything that came with it. All he had to do was return the suit to where he had found it, and after that, he could begin again. He needed to be a role model for Cassie. The ants had other plans, though. Hours after Scott returned the suit, they brought it back to him. He was just sitting there when all of a sudden, hundreds of ants carrying the suit in its shrunken size marched through a crack in the wall. Scott took this as a sign. He was meant to have the suit, and he was meant to be a superhero. It didn't matter who saw. Scott was a good man. Ant-Man not only protects Cassie, but the whole world. With Scott Lang's skills and the string suit, nothing can stop him.